Greetings and welcome to the podcast for Dreamz.com. I'm your host, Kenyatta Robinson. Today is Sunday, January the 3rd, 2016. And our website can be found at Dreamz.com, and that's Dreamz with the letter Z at the end of it, like zebra. So today I wanted to focus on my favorite football team, the San Francisco 49ers. Early in the morning, it was widely reported that 49ers first-year head coach Jim Tomsula was expected to be relieved from his duties. That's the wording that the Niners chose to put out there, that he would be relieved of his duties. In other words, he was going to be fired. Now, in typical 49er fashion, this story was leaked. I mean, if you recall the Jim Harbaugh debacle from last year and how they eventually mutually parted ways, as they put it at that time, those stories, rumors, were in abundance from early in the season to the point where it was just no surprise by the time Jim Harbaugh was essentially fired as well. So, that's one of the things that has frustrated me as a 49er fan. Not just the fact that the play on the field has seriously deteriorated over the past few years, but the way the front office handles itself, the way they carry themselves, the way they communicate with their fans, just their actions is just a far departure from the classy organization that Eddie DeBartolo Jr. had put together in the 49ers heyday. So it's been a tough pill to swallow under the direction of Jed York. So the big question is, did Jim Tomsula deserve to be fired? I think he was dealt a raw hand from the beginning. There was just too much talent that was allowed to leave the team and was not sufficiently replaced by general manager Trent Baalke. So I felt like he was handicapped from the get-go. I mean, they could have brought in Bill Walsh himself, and he would have struggled to get anything done with this roster. That being said, I just hate to say it, but Jim Tomsula brought a very unimaginative, uninspired brand of football to the table. I mean, especially on the offensive side of the football. I mean, even the games that the 49ers won, it just was like watching paint dry. So, honestly, I did not expect much from this year's team. It felt like they finished with 5 wins, 11 losses. That's about where I would have expected them to be. So I don't think he deserved to be fired based on having expectations that, having expectations of better results or more wins. Like, I don't see how anyone could have expected this year's 49er team to win more than 6 games tops. So, in that sense, he got them where I thought he would get them. The problem is that he just did not appear to have a vision, did not appear to be a motivator. I mean, I've heard the stories about how he's loved in the locker room, in the clubhouse, but it just wasn't translating on the field. And watching them from week in to week out, and the consistent slow starts on offense. I think the Niners went the entire season and only scored a touchdown on their opening drive once, and that was last week. So the team starts slow and flat, and that was consistent all season long. So, I just felt like, yes, Tomsula deserved to be fired because they need to go in a different direction. And to be honest, he shouldn't have been hired in the first place. I mean, when Jim Harbaugh was finally let go, I mean, I was fully prepared for that. We had heard the rumors all year long. Many people forget that in Harbaugh's last season, the team was 8-8. I believe they lost 4 of their last 5 games. So, it's not like they were, setting the world ablaze and then he was snatched out of the locker room. I mean, they were deteriorating right before our eyes. And, he deserved to be held accountable for that. He was supposed to be this quarterback guru, this great offensive mind. I mean, he inherited a team that already had a great defense, and he was supposed to take that offense to another level. But frankly, the offense was bad. Colin Kaepernick's play was deteriorating and getting worse with each season. It seemed like they weren't allowing Kaepernick to do the things that made him a unique quarterback, would not allow him to get out in the open and run options. I mean, I don't know. Maybe defensive had just figured it out, but it felt like from the play calling under Jim Harbaugh's watch that they weren't going to get anything more out of Colin Kaepernick. And that's a failure directly that I place at Harbaugh's feet, because he was the guy, he was the quarterback that he wanted. And he essentially shuttled Alex Smith out of here at the first opportunity he could, snatching the starting job away from him in favor of Kaepernick. So he didn't get the job done. And, I know a lot of 49er fans feel like Harbaugh should still be the coach. But, like I said, he deserved his fair share of blame. But anyway, I guess my point in all of this is that, like I said, Harbaugh was not without his faults, and I fully expected him to be replaced by the time they got to that point. What shocked me was that they replaced him with a guy that did not have an offensive background, did not have head coaching experience in the NFL, did not even have experience as a defensive coordinator in the NFL. Jed York, Trent Baalke made it seem like the 49ers were doing this exhaustive search for a replacement for Jim Harbaugh, and they give the job to a guy that, frankly, no other team was interested in as being a head coach. I mean, Tomsula was not on anyone's radar at all. That move completely shocked me, and it was at that point that I began to realize that perhaps Jed York's real mission here is not about winning Super Bowls at all. And it's not about, winning with class, as he put it. And, we don't raise division championships here. We only raise Super Bowl flags. Maybe all of that is just a lot of hot air, and maybe he's really just about selling personal seat licenses to fund that brand new stadium that they built down in Santa Clara. So, it was really at that moment when they hired Tomsula that I began to really question what was going on with ownership. So, in a nutshell, I mean, I'm sorry, yes, Tomsula deserved to be fired, but like I said, he shouldn't have been hired in the first place. That brings me to my next point. Not only should Jim Tomsula have been fired, but General Manager Trent Baalke needs to go as well. So we're already hearing a lot about who the potential replacements are. Names like Chip Kelly, Sean Payton, Hugh Jackson. Those names, they all sound decent. I have my own personal doubts about Chip Kelly's ability to succeed in the NFL. I mean, you just cannot give away Pro Bowl talent like that. You just can't, in order to try and execute your system. I mean, you need to build around the talent that you have on your team. So I don't know about Chip Kelly and his ego, and I really can't see it succeeding with Trent Baalke, who also has a big ego. Sean Payton sounds good, but again, I don't see it working under Trent Baalke's direction. Maybe Hugh Jackson, but honestly, it almost doesn't matter to me who they bring in. I mean, don't get me wrong, I want them to hire someone qualified that has a vision, but I think that the chaos will continue if Trent Baalke remains as the general manager. And frankly, I really don't understand how it is that he's been able to escape taking his fair share of blame for the current state of the organization. I mean, Baalke has let an incredible amount of talent get away and has done a completely abysmal job of replacing that talent. His draft record has not been impressive at all. I don't know how many years he's been here, and he still has not drafted a top-notch number one wide receiver. I'm not even going to get into all of his misses, in the draft, but just trust me when I say his track record is nowhere close to being stellar. His free agent signings have been poor. I mean, what did we get out of Reggie Bush this year? Absolutely nothing. Even Torrey Smith, supposed to be the speed guy. I mean, they connected with him on maybe one big-time touchdown this year. But, a Torrey Smith sighting is rare. So, and I could go on. But my point here is Baalke does not have a strong track record. And, from all indications, a lot of the conflict with Harbaugh was because of, personality conflict, general disagreement, maybe hatred. I don't know. But clearly Harbaugh did not get along. And, frankly, I think Baalke, we all know Jim Harbaugh has a huge ego. I think Baalke's ego is just as large. So, Sean Payton, Chip Kelly, Hugh Jackson, anyone else you name,